Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. I want to talk about the trial. I want to talk about the trial because obviously I have some thoughts. Oof, this DA, she is so desperate to get a conviction. You know, like she reminds me a lot of. Mind you, she's not as good looking as the DA in Days, but they're both out for, I wouldn't sit there and say for blood. They're just out to get a win and they don't really care how they go about it. And it's just so disgusting that they're willing to sit there, you know, go through any means to sit there and get a win. That some of the stuff, some of the evidence is flimsy at best and they'll go full force with it. So we got Portia, we got Trina, we got Dollar Store Taggart, and I thought about that, and at this point, because Taggart didn't really say much, he wasn't really like super involved. I didn't really care if it wasn't like the original Taggart. Um, I really do feel like if this was going to be the way that they were going to go, they should have probably had him there from day one, because it was just so much where it's like, why have you not been to have these trials and things of that nature? Like, where has he been? Um, And so I'm glad the other actor is able to step in. Curtis came in, he was like, yeah, we don't really have anything yet, and, I thought we were really close. I'm looking at this whole thing, I'm like, bro, you literally start looking for information. You literally start trying to look for evidence to get this woman, get this girl free at the last possible minute. What did you thought was going to wind up happening? I, I'm not going to lie, that kind of pisses me off so much because if you're late to the game and you just start watching this like today, you're like, oh man, he really did his best to sit there and try. And it's like, no, 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 no. He really has not been doing anything. He's been sitting on his ass throughout the start of this stuff, not using his PI, skills or anything like that. And, oh, now we got Marshall, he's sitting there getting connects and stuff like that. I'm like, that's cool, but he should have been doing something from day one. He's just been like, keep hope alive, I'm with you, and this, that, and the third, while he's sitting there doing all sorts of things to Portia. And I'm like, and this just came to me, and this may sound a little bit kind of dickish, and I'm not sitting there saying that, Curtis would have just, it makes me really think, if Curtis knew that Trina was his daughter, would he have been going harder as far as trying to find evidence a lot sooner? I mean, literally 3 days before this trial started, he was like, oh, let me sit there and try to get her exonerated. Like, really? Because this thing's been going on forever. Jocelyn. Diane told both of them, Jocelyn and Cam, to just answer honestly. Let me do the work. All you have to do is just answer honestly. Okay? Don't deviate. Don't do, just answer the questions. Let me do the rest. Jocelyn thinks that she's helping Trina by, giving answers that she thinks is going to pacify the court, pacify the judge, instead of just being honest. Because at the end of the day, she can say all that she wants. It's Diane's job to sit there and get Trina free. So her, not really answering questions and her being super defensive, and it's like, bro, what are you doing? I know people are going to sit there and say, oh, she's just like her mother, this spunk. It's like, no, you're just an idiot. And you're an idiot that's not really helping Trina by, not giving straightforward answers. Um, She pissed me off. I know that she's trying to help her friend, but she's going about it in a very shitty way. I'm just going to be completely honest. Brando and TJ. So, at this point, Brando is pissed off. He's pissed off at a lot of things. He's pissed off at himself for not seeing the signs, being a former addict. He's also pissed off at Sasha, for lying to him for months. For months. He's conflicted, they're in the steam room and he's pacing back and forth. And TJ's like, yo, the whole point of the steam room is that way it can kind of mellow us out. Like this is you're doing all this is kind of productive. Um, I don't remember what advice that TJ gave, but it seemed like it didn't really do too much of anything. Um, yeah, I really don't actually have anything else to say about that. It's just he seemed like he was pissed off, and I guess he just doesn't really know what to do. But marriages go through up and downs, and I'll sit there and say that much. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know if I didn't feel this same because the guy is he's not Michael. Like we got the temporary guy playing Michael. So I don't know if I didn't feel the same because of that, or I didn't feel the same because he's just being a dick at this point. Like, don't get me wrong. In the beginning, I was like, I understand Michael's feelings, and I get that there's going to be some distance between those two, but I feel like this whole thing is just being forced at this point. This whole Michael versus Sonny thing, it's just being forced. And it plays out so much where you're just like when he comes to the gym and he's like, oh yeah, just let you know that, Willow's pregnant. And I don't want you to have anything to do with my other son because of this, that, and the third. And even Dante's like, yo, bro, like, is this really necessary? And then after that, it seems like they're about to get into this, a little bit of a fight between him and Dax, which is what he wanted. Because when Michael talks to Dante, and Michael's like, "Oh, I just want to sit there and share the news with you because I figured you was going to be here." Dante's like, "You telling me that you know this is Sonny's gem? You telling me that you didn't think he was going to run into him?" Which again, this whole conflict seems just extremely forced. Like, it's not that they're not supposed to have black blood, but not to this extent. I mean, come on, this guy literally killed your dad, and then he found out that AJ wasn't even the person that shot Connie. This is after he promised Michael that he wouldn't do anything. And then he just went and just did it. So I'm like, if you were able to sit there and forgive him over that, bro, what are you doing at this point? Now, before that happened, Sonny was there talking about, issues with Nina and Sonny. I mean, Nina and Carly and the hotel and everything like that, because he didn't know what was going on. Apparently, Olivia just didn't get around to sit there and telling Dante about the new changes at the hotel because, whatever, but he found out through Sonny. And, Sonny, is they're talking about, Nina buying a hotel and how would that look, optics with, it's not like it's not going to come across as spiteful. Nina buying, the other half of the hotel and being all like, oh, I'm going to sit there and sell you the other half. It's like, even Sonny called her out for that. Now he has this whole, it just seems like it's a headache. And, he's also kind of annoyed with Carly because her attitude and everything like that is spreading on to Michael, according to him. I don't think that's the case at all, but according to him, that's, that's what he said. Brandon was in there for a little bit just to kind of break up the fake fight that they were having. Um, which is kind of odd because now I sit there and think about it, I'm like, Sonny, you known Michael since he was a baby. When has he ever acted this irrational? Even getting into a fist fight with Dax. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not that like Michael is going to sit there and back down from the challenge, but this would seem like he was like gunning for a fight. And the fact that Sonny didn't even sit there and be like, this isn't even like you. It says something. I don't know what it says, but it says something. So while Nina was not there visiting Nathan's grave, she gets a call from Olivia. And Olivia's like, oh, listen, we're about to sit there and have a meeting in like, 15 minutes or like, nearly an hour. So can you come? And Nina was like, yeah, thank you for telling me at the last minute. I called out Olivia's actions before. I'm going to sit there and do it again. I understand that Olivia's not there riding for Carly, but there's a fine line between business and personal. Being business and being professional. And Olivia doing little things like that, little spiteful things like that, doesn't exactly help anyone. Because, like it or not, that is her partner. And her doing little things like that, I feel like that just affects the hotel as a whole. While she thinks that she's riding for Carly. And there are very rare times that I would sit there and side with Nina. Because I made this clear enough, I'm not exactly a fan of Nina. But I'm like, bro, at this point, you're just being childish. Like, dead ass serious, you're a grown ass woman. Now, Nina, is visited by Ulbrich, and, she starts talking about the hotel and, how she bought it for Carly, to sit there and try to make some sort of amends. I'm going to be honest, even Ulbrich was like, yeah, how do you think that's going to look? Like, what do you, what did you think the reaction was going to be? So hell, even Liesel called her out on that. And of course, at this point, Nina thinks that, there's going to be, like, she feels that she's going to lose Sonny because she thought she was trying to do the right thing. And, Sonny called her out for it. And, she was upset that, and hell, she even said she was upset that Sonny went to her rescue. Now, I'm like, not that long ago, she did sit there and say, "Oh, well, I get it. You and Carly are always going to be Smith there tied because of the kids, and I don't have a problem with that." I was like, "No, bro, you do have a problem with that. You do have a problem. That's the whole reason." In a lot of ways, I feel why she bought the hotel, so that way Sonny wouldn't have to sit there and bail her out. Now, she did sit there and talk about how it benefits her as far as Crimson and being there and keeping that space. So it's a big win for Nina, and it's like, well, why should I not take it? Just because, Sonny is feeling some sort of way or Carly is upset about it. Like, okay, so Carly can sit there and pound sand. Like, this is a win for me. I'm not going to sit there and not take it. Hell, besides the whole personal stuff, the only loss I can sit there and see for Nina is something that I like to sit there and say: Jack of all trades, master of none. She's already the head of this magazine, and now she's sitting there being the co-owner of this hotel. I'm like at some point, something is going to have to give. And between doing all that, having some friendships and um, family, and dealing with Sonny and all his other stuff, good luck. That's all I'm going to say. Good luck with all that. At some point, Nina does run into Willow because Willow's not there. She was there to visit, her son's grave and talk about how she's going to be another mother, how she's going to be a mother again. And Nina overheard, and of course Willow gets defensive, and they start going at each other for a little bit. But not even really going at each other. It's just Willow going at Nina for like a couple of minutes. So, Willow goes at Nina for a little bit before she gets a call from TJ. She goes down to the hospital, and you know, she's like, oh, what's going on? It's not about work. It's not about the baby. Like, what's going on? Like, she has no idea. She doesn't see the demeanor on TJ's face, and you can tell it's serious. And he's like, no, 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 this isn't about the, like, OGB. This isn't about, like, your pregnancy or anything like that. This is, about the test results, the other test results. So we're going to sit there and find it out, I guess, tomorrow, as long as they don't interrupt the episode. Um, which is something I was waiting for. And not to sit there and say they shouldn't have been, like, happy and celebrating and stuff like that, but they made it seem like they weren't waiting for more test results, you know? Um, yeah. I think the last one deals with Spencer and his dumbass plan of trying to get Esme to confess, and that's literally what he does throughout this entire episode. He slowly builds her up, talking about, oh, I found your birth mom and stuff like that when no one else did, and thank my Uncle Victor, and I know you've been sitting there really wanting this, and you've been feeling like you're lost, and yada yada yada. And of course, they go through this whole history thing of, oh, talking about when he was sitting there reading the letters and how it was for her eyes only, and yada 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 yada. So towards the end of the episode, this is where his demeanor changes, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't do this for you. I did this for Trina. I'm the only person that knows, um, who is your birth mother." And I'm sitting there just thinking, like, so, you know, thinking about Spencer and this whole thing from the beginning, him not believing, that Trina did it. That was probably you know, was a really good reveal. But then, he was like, I'm going to sit there and try to help her get free. And I'm like, well, how are you going to do that? Oh, I'm going to sit there and wait till she makes a mistake. So he sits on his ass for months. And then when that doesn't work, he starts trying to dig through her stuff because, he's not going to get caught. And then that happens. So now his plan is to black. I can't even say this with a straight face. He plans on blackmailing her and saying, well, if you really want to sit there and find your birth mom, you really want to know the identity, then I'm the only person that can sit there and do it. One, you're not. I get that he has resources and stuff like that, but he is not the only person that can sit there and get a hold of the identity of her birth mom. He's just not. I don't understand why he feels that he is because he has money, he has connections. But he's not the only person on the planet that can do that. So you honestly think that she really is going to risk her freedom by confessing just to get answers to her, her birth mom? And even if, here's the thing, let's just sit there and say, for the sake of argument, he actually knew. He was like, I'll tell you this, if you confess, she's always going to be on the run. She's always, I mean, unless she goes to a country that they don't yank her ass back from, she's always going to be on the run. She's always going to be sitting there looking over her shoulder. And she's pretty young. I'm pretty sure at some point when she gets her trust fund or whatever, she could sit there and find these answers herself. So why in the hell would she sit there and gamble on him, especially how he's been thrown off, back and forth between him and Trina, to sit there and be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to really sit there and trust you. None of this works. None of this works. So when I'm watching it and, he starts flipping and he's all like, oh, this is the only way you're going to get these answers, I'm just like, this is so stupid. I was thinking the whole time, I was like, this is so dumb. Okay, I feel like that's about it. Oh, that's about it for the most part. I don't think I really left too much out. I can't really think. I mean, yeah, Ava was there. She didn't really do anything. She was just there for support, and I think I kind of mentioned the other people. But before I go, so I was sitting there reading the comments on Friday about my comment that I felt like this whole racial issue came out of left field. Now, I need to amend that. Don't get me wrong, I still stand by what I said. And I said this in a couple of comments, but I want to sit there and just say it in the video. When I said that this conversation came out of left field, one, I felt like it came out of left field for me. A couple of amazing subscribers were sent there telling me that, this was a conversation that was needed. This was a conversation that really touched them. It touched them because, they're black mothers that are always have to sit there and think about their daughters, getting into something that they really shouldn't have to be sitting there dealing with this world, even in 2022. Okay? So when I'm looking at it, I'm not a father or anything like that. When I saw this conversation, I felt like it came out of left field and it was something that didn't resonate with me. It doesn't mean that it wasn't important, it just means it didn't resonate with me. But it was important for a lot of mothers that unfortunately have to sit there and deal with the realities of, well, we're not always treated the same. So when I said that, I wasn't sitting there saying it to be callous or anything like that. And, this is why I say it still felt like it came out of left field. But it came out of left field for me, and I just didn't understand it. Well, it's not that I didn't understand it, I just didn't understand why they decided to bring this topic up. I didn't understand why they decided to bring this topic up, especially as far as, was Esme's motives racist? And I'm like, no. Now, when Esme first came to town, she did get on Jocelyn, but she got on Trina more because of her connection to Spencer. She didn't get on it because she was African American. She just didn't like the fact that another woman was sitting there playing with a toy that she felt like she didn't belong to be playing with. Okay, I don't know exactly how much. The point is, she didn't like the fact that, Spencer also had an attraction to Trina. So that's why she came at her so difficult. Now, did she know that she was going to have a harder time to sit there and prove herself because of her race? I don't know. I have no idea. Because the character has never actually displayed that. The character never actually just sat there in a chair and was like, well, if I sit there and blame the sex tape on her, then it'll be a lot harder for her to sit there and, get proven innocent. She's never once said that. And if she did, then yeah, I can sit there and say, you know what? In some sort of ways, that was kind of racist because she knew that she would have a harder time, but she never once came at her she never came at her in a racist manner. She just came at her in a very mean, spiteful, vindictive way. But that didn't have anything to do with race. So that's why I felt like that conversation came out of nowhere. Now, the people, subscribers or whatever that watch my channel also watches another creator named JLJ Media. And on my way to Brooklyn this weekend, I caught one of his lives because he was sitting there talking about the whole conversation and everything like that and why he felt like it was needed and yada, 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 yada. So I chimed in. And I pretty much said what I said to Bob on Friday. That I felt like it was out of left field. And I didn't really... I don't remember if I said it wasn't necessary. I might have actually said it wasn't necessary. Oh yeah, I did say it wasn't necessary. I didn't actually type in the whole reason why because of, Esme's motives didn't seem like they were racist. So I said that. And of course, clearly my comment started something. And then every comment that I said after that seemed like it was taken out of context. Now, granted, I say that, but when I was talking to DC Soap Sanctuary, he watched live and he was like, because I was sitting there messaging him later on that night, and I was like, yo, we were sitting there talking and yada, yada, yada. And then he watched live and he was like, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything that was out to, like, it made it seem like my conversation when I was talking to him, like I probably exaggerated on some things. So I guess in a lot of ways, I feel like we both kind of took each other's comments, um, like blown out of proportion or out of context. Um, and I think towards the end, and honestly, tell you the truth, one day I really do want to have a conversation with him, not like whatever, like an actual Zoom conversation with him. Is because the one thing that I did sit there and say, because he felt like these conversations are always necessary, and I feel like the conversations is necessary. I feel like there has to be a balance between fantasy and reality. Because, listen, a lot of people who are watching these soap operas, who are watching these shows, they're doing it to escape, the things that are going on in reality. They don't want to sit there and talk about COVID or anything like that. They just want to sit there and just focus on the soaps, the drama, other people's drama other than their own. Other than their own. So I basically was like, there's a fine line because halfway through the conversation, I felt like so much of my comments were just getting like blown out of proportion or just out of context that I was like, you know what, listen, I'm going to agree to disagree. I think he said something along the lines of, no, you're just wrong. And I'm like, okay, that was very mature. But when I said that, I think that's when he kind of understood where I was coming from. And he agreed somewhat on that as far as there's a fine line between reality and fantasy. And it's not like these conversations shouldn't be had. Okay. And I always I bring it back to when Jordan was there talking to Portia about Liz and her bursting in the police office, you know, bursting in the police station and really getting all up in Jordan's face about, oh, what did you do to my son? This, that, and the third, yada, yada, yada. When Jordan, and in all reality, I felt like this should have happened. Jordan should have literally been like, if this was my son, it would have been a different outcome. Now, she didn't do it. And she didn't really sit there and say why she didn't do it. But I felt like right then and there, those type of conversations definitely need to be had because that happened in the show. And Liz and how do you sit there and put it? I don't even know if I'm using the right word, but I'm just going to sit there and use it anyway. Just racially unaware before she walked in there and had that much smoke with Jordan about her son, that Jordan also has a son. And Jordan's son literally dealt with with a racist situation years back with Rick Lanson and Sonny and everything. And I think if she would have thought about that before she came in there, guns blazing, that she would have been like, okay, let me sit there and take it as a different tone. And I felt like that conversation needed to be had. This one, for me personally, felt like it came out of left field. But that's just me. I understand where everyone else is coming from. I feel like that's pretty much about it. I am glad that I did sit there and talk to DC Soap Sanctuary because I'm going to be completely honest. This man has so much more patience than I do. Okay, and I had a different outcome about how I was going to sit there and deal with the situation. So I'm glad I did actually talk to him before. Well, I went with an option that I would have went with. But hopefully one day that we do actually have a conversation about that because Um, it is important, you know, just because we disagreed on the method doesn't mean that I'm ignorant or like as far as like what goes on in this country and why conversations do need to be had. But you know, I feel like that's pretty much about it. So with that being said, oof, well, you definitely went over time. With that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. See you next video.